You are listening to the Navigating Adult ADHD podcast with your ADHD coach and expert, Zena. Hello, my friend. Welcome back to Navigating Adult ADHD. I want to start out by saying thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for choosing to push play on this podcast. I know there are so many podcasts out there, and if you're here today listening to this, I just want to say I appreciate you. And thank you so much for being here, my friend. So today we're going to talk about money, and specifically how to make money something that we don't want to hide from, something that we're good at, that we enjoy, that we have lots of, right? We're going to talk about how to make it ADHD-friendly without any boring budgets. Unless you're a budget person. I don't know about you, but I'm not a spreadsheet person. I'm not a budget person. That's just not my thing. All right, so you don't have to worry about that. That is definitely not something we're going to talk about today. And before we do, I just wanted to shout out the incredible team at Live for More. So I had the absolute honor and privilege of going in to speak at Live for More on Friday of last week. And the purpose of Live for More is to empower rangatiti, so our young people. Specifically, it is males between the ages of 17 and 25. And it's helping them to find freedom from their troubled pasts, from, the backgrounds that they've had, and inspiring them to live positive and fulfilling lives. And it's an amazing organization. I was just so blown away and humbled to be there and to get to speak and share some kai and some, incredible stories and hear about them and their pasts and their futures and all these things. So one of the things that they do is surf therapy. And they help with, through surf therapy, through different programs that they have, they help to transform people who have had a really troubled life and upbringing and turn their life around. So, I just wanted to shout them out and say, if by chance you are listening to this podcast, it was incredible to meet each and every one of you. And I'm, just so grateful that you invited me along and I got to spend some time with you. So, friends, let's talk about money. Last episode number 130, we actually looked at why money is extra hard for ADHD brains. We talked about things like impulse spending, right? If you just drop $1,000 on a couple of pairs of jeans, right? Impulse spending. We talked about dopamine-driven purchases. And we also explored how shame can pile on top of the money struggles. So, my friend, you are not alone if money feels messy, if it's something that you have a difficult relationship with, okay? And it's not about willpower, right? This has nothing to do with willpower. Our ADHD brains are wired for novelty and stimulation, all right? So if you haven't yet listened to that episode, I highly, highly, highly encourage you to do that. It's the one before this. It's number 130. Because when we understand why we can struggle with money and, why we are more likely to have financial difficulties, right? I talked about some of the research. When we understand this, it can help to begin removing some of that shame and making more sense of our behaviors. Right, and when we kind of have that deeper understanding, that's when it becomes easier to slowly, right, not all or nothing, but slowly start to make a few changes that support our brains and what our brains are doing and why they're doing it. All right. So in this episode today, I'm going to share with you 4 strategies for making money more ADHD friendly. Okay. Now, I promise there's going to be no mention, as I said, of boring spreadsheets or budgets that you have to follow. If that's your thing, awesome. But that's not what we're talking about today. Instead, I'm going to share with you how you can improve your financial situation. My friend, it's a little early on for that, isn't it? I'm going to share how you can actually improve your financial situation in some simple, easy, and fun ways. All right, ways that speak directly to your ADHD brain and the things that it needs, right? Things like dopamine and novelty. All right. So, as I said, this episode's going to be full of practical things that you can do. Now, I don't expect you to remember everything. I'm going to give you so many things under these 4 umbrellas today. And hi, we have ADHD. I don't know about you, but I don't remember the things. Even when I want to remember them, I'm like, oh my God. So you can get a free download with everything I shared today, all of the things you need to know, by heading to navigatingadultadhd.com/cheat sheet. Okay? Or just tap the link wherever you're listening to this. Tap the link to get that free download. All right? We've got you covered. So let's get into it. Let's get into the 4 ways to make money ADHD friendly. Number 1, make money visible. Okay? We are in sight, in mind. Out of sight, out of mind. Right? Back in the olden days when everything was cash, we probably would have had quite a different relationship to money because we were always looking at it. But now when everything is electronic and we very rarely have cash, it can just kind of feel like it's endless. You just keep tapping your card, swiping your card, and, as long as it doesn't say decline, you're good to go, right? So when we can't see it and we don't have this kind of visual representation, it's very easy just to keep, tapping it and worrying about it later because it doesn't feel like a now issue. It feels like a later thing. Again, this is so much like time blindness, right? I call it money blindness. So some of the ways that we can do this, how we can make money more visible is, well, first of all, actually, this is one of my favorites, is breaking it into buckets. And what I mean by that is opening multiple accounts. Like I've got more than 10 accounts. I don't know, maybe like 15, probably more than 15. So what I mean by this is having accounts for all of the different expenses you have. For example, having a rent account, having a power account, a phone account. I have a car expenses account, a health and fitness account, right? I even have a dopamine fund money account, right? A savings account, all of these different things. So when you know what your money's going to, and this is something we're also going to talk about, right? Often we don't even know where it's going and how much it costs us to live each week or month, right? But once we've got a rough idea of that, we can break it into all of these different accounts. Now, with each account, you often get to make it a little more fun, meaning you can rename that account and you can often add visuals. So I have been able to go in and put like little images for each of my accounts. And when I log into my online banking, I see the little picture that represents like my car expenses. There's a picture of a car, right? Like my travel account, I've got a travel fund and there's like a holiday photo in there, right? I literally have a cat expenses account. That's right. So what is it? There's pictures of cats. Okay. So again, making it a little more fun, a little more visual. Okay, it makes it a little easier to see where our money is going and what is available in each of these accounts. Okay, again, we're wanting to put it more in sight, in mind. Now, other ways to do this include using more cash, right? While that is somewhat inconvenient because you have to get it out, if you can get out cash when you get your groceries, like, hey, can I get $200 cash out or whatever? Like if you can make it simple and easy, that would be great. Something you do every week on payday, what have you. But if we use cash, again, it's in sight, in mind. And I'm not saying for everything, right? Like you want some things to be automated. For example, like my phone bill is automated. My power is automated, right? All of these sorts of things, simple, automated, right? But when it comes to incidentals, so things like when I go and buy a bottle of wine midweek, or I decide I'm going to go out to a cafe and, grab a coffee or catch up with a friend, or I'm walking past a store and I'm like, wow, that's a really cute top. I might go try that on, right? Having cash just for those things, when you only have it in cash, and I encourage you to leave your cards behind, right? Then it's like, well, I've only got, $100 for the week. So actually, I might not get that top. I might wait, or I might come back towards the end of the week if I haven't spent this money, right? Again, it's all about making it more insight in mind. Okay, so this could also be like fun money. Get your fun money out in cash, like your dopamine spending money. So another way we can do this is to make it less visible. Okay, so what I mean by that, if you want to be spending less or, doing a little less impulse spending, specifically unplanned spending, leave your bank cards, your credit cards at home. Literally leave them at home and just take cash. Only take the amount that you would, be happy to spend for that day, that night out, whatever it is. Okay. Again, we can play with this on the reverse side and make it out of sight, out of mind, make it a little harder, which leads into strategy number 2, which is something called self-binding. Self-binding is where we create barriers between ourselves and our, air quotes, drug of choice, right? This is where we make it harder to access. This is something I first learned about, all this concept I learned about from Anna Lemke in the book Dopamine Nation, which I highly encourage on audio. I love the stories that she has in there. It is really good, very relatable. Anyway, she talks about self-binding and how it's not a foolproof system, okay, but it's about making it harder to access so that we are less likely to follow through, right? Our brains don't like shit that's hard, right? Our ADHD brains like simple and easy things, okay? So what this can look like, right? Creating self-binding barriers between ourselves and, the things we might spend on. For me, it has been to unfollow Instagram accounts. Okay, because in the evening, sometimes I like to scroll through Instagram after dinner. And as I'm scrolling through, I see one of my favorite websites has got this beautiful new dress out and, pre-orders available now and don't miss out, right? And they use all of that FOMO, fear of missing out marketing, right? So if I don't see that, I'm less likely to click on it and buy it. So I have literally unfollowed the Instagram accounts that I had a tendency to go and buy lots of shit from. Okay, so that's a really easy way. As I said, not foolproof. You can still search them up and go and look, but you're making it harder because it's not just going to come up in your vision and then you're like, oh, I should go and have a look, right? Other ways that you can do self-binding is to lock your credit cards in a safe or have a loved one do that for you, right? In a lockbox in a safe, right? Leaving your bank cards at home, your credit cards at home, only carrying cash. It's a really great way to do it. Another one is putting savings, right? Or any money that you're wanting to, put aside for something specific, putting it in an account that is harder for you to touch. So for example, if you open a different bank account with a different bank, right? So if you're with Kiwi Bank now and you open an account with Westpac specifically just for, say, savings, right? Or it could be just for bills, whatever it is, right? But if you open an account with a different bank and don't have a debit or credit card attached to it, it makes it so much harder for you to access that money. Okay, so again, it's about putting these barriers in place, making it harder for you to access, right? I have actually done this when it comes to savings. So I have I have 2 different banks. I have Kiwi Bank. I use one bank specifically for business. I use another bank specifically for personal, 2 totally different banks. Okay. And then I have a third one that I use to put savings in. I don't have a card attached to that, right? It's you have to wait a whole day for it to do a transfer and it requires you to log in line and then do authorization and all this shit. It's just so annoying. But I also don't have the app on my phone for that bank so that I don't see it, right? Again, I just forget that I even have money over there with that bank in that account. All right. Again, I'm really speaking to my brain, making it out of sight, out of mind, but also harder for me to access that sort of self-binding. Okay. Another way to do the self-binding is to screenshot the thing that you're wanting to buy and save it for later. If you're in a physical store, you say, hey, can you hold this till tomorrow for me? Right? The amount of times I've done that. Hey, can you hold this jacket? I'm going to pop back tomorrow. Right? And then just not gone back most of the time. But again, this really speaks to that sort of FOMO and that urgency, that real sense of urgency that we can feel when we are impulse buying things. feels kind of urgent and frantic and necessary, right? So if we can do that whole screenshot it, click the little save icon, save that link for later, right? Ask them to hold it. I'm not saying I'm not going to have it. I'm just putting a little bit of a pause in there. I'm just saving it for later. Okay? Again, self-binding is all about creating barriers between ourselves and our drug of choice, which sometimes is spending, my friends, spending money. Number 3 is make money more enjoyable to look at. Like, make looking at your finances something that isn't scary or full of shame and disgust, right? Make, understanding it and managing it like more playful and fun, okay? So many times in my life, I would create like spreadsheet fucking budgets, tell myself that I wasn't going to spend more than $100 a week on groceries. And trust me, in today's climate, not possible. But anyway, back then it was, right? Tell myself I'm only going to spend $100 a week on groceries. I'm only going to spend $50 a week on petrol. And I'm going to save $200 a week. And I'm not going to spend money on this, right? And at that time in my life, I had no idea what it cost me to live. I had no idea, how much I was spending on groceries every week. And it would have been at least probably double that because I was going to the supermarket most days, right? Like, I didn't know that, I was buying cat biscuits and I wasn't allowing for like cat biscuits every month for my cat, or vet expenses or vehicle expenses. I wasn't allowing for any of that, right? I was always hiding from what it cost me to live and then setting these ridiculously strict budgets. Again, approaching it in this very all or nothing way, like incredibly strict, no fun, like really shameful, judgmental kind of approach, or like whatever the fuck, I'm just going to spend money and worry about it later, like whatever, like very all or nothing, right? Again, a lot of money blindness coming up here. So we know that novelty and interest motivate ADHD brains. When something is novel to us, when it's interesting, right, we can become like a walking encyclopedia of something that we are interested in, right? Our 9-year-old is the cutest, right? Like right now, he is so interested in space. They've been studying space at school. He has become obsessed. He is a walking encyclopedia of all things space. I said to him last night, I was like, how are you going to make your millions? Because we all think he's going to be rich. He's so fucking smart. Like, he's 9 years old. He's smarter than everybody in this house, I swear. And I said to him, how are you going to make your millions? And he said to me, I'm going to make billions. I was like, good answer. How are you going to do that? He's like, I'm going to be an astronomer at NASA. I was like, damn. Like, oh my God, I love it. Anyway, my point was, he is so interested in space right now. Like, he will literally ask if he can go on his computer so that he can just research space and learn about it. Like, he is obsessed, right? But again, when we're interested in something, we can easily become obsessed. When something's novel to us, right? Like, that will motivate us to do it, to, look at it, whatever it is. So we can use that. We can use that knowledge of how our ADHD brains how our ADHD brains work when it comes to money. I love how sometimes my brain like skips letters and words because it's already gone on to the next thing. It's like 2 steps ahead. So, all right, how can we do this? One of the ways I do this, and I invite you to do this too, is to plan for the impulse spending. Plan for the dopamine spending. Have some fun money. Right? Don't expect yourself just to go all or nothing here and never have fun money again, dopamine spending. Hi, that's not fair. That's not fun. It's probably not very realistic, right? Maybe we want to reduce it, sure, but don't take it away completely, all right? So I really invite you to plan for and set aside and allow for some dopamine spending, or I call it like my fun money. Okay. I always think about Monopoly money, right? Fun money, but it's real. Okay. This is where we buy the unnecessary things, right? We check out the Temu cart and end up with a bunch of random shit on our doorstep, right? My fun money lately has all gone towards, I tell you what, it's all gone towards coloring books. Did you know you can spend $90 on a coloring book? Yes, you can. And I don't regret it. It's awesome. It's full of swear words surrounded by epic things to color in. Fantastic, right? So the next thing is making your accounts colorful, right? Renaming them, adding photos and visuals. I talked about this before. Not having boring ass spreadsheets, making it fun. Again, another way to make this kind of novel and interesting is to use different bank accounts. I shared with you before, I've got my business with one bank. I have my personal with a different bank. I then have other savings with a completely, different bank. Again, I have 3 different banks that I bank with, right? And you can use, it doesn't have to be a bank. Like there's things like Sharesies here in New Zealand. All right, there's lots of different things you can use. But we want to, again, make it like a little more fun, a little more interesting, a little more appealing, right? For me, it has made it easier to manage money when my business goes through one bank and my personal goes through a different one. Like they're totally separate banks. There is no crossover unless I transfer one, from one bank over to the other bank, right? Like it's just so separate. It makes it way easier to manage and navigate. Right. There's also a really cool app, and I have not used this yet, but they did reach out to me to talk about sponsorship, etc. And we haven't gone down that route, so I'm not saying that I'm, promoting them. But I did do a bit of research into them, and the app is called Pocketsmith. And I definitely invite you to check it out because it looks super fun, super ADHD friendly. And they did talk about how, this is very supportive of neurodivergent brains. So I would invite you to have a look. It's called Pocketsmith. Okay. Again, it's just all about making it novel and interesting and fun, right? Taking the shame out of it. Also, another thing that I do and I invite you to do is to make a regular money date with somebody in your life, a safe somebody, right? Meaning somebody who's non-judgmental. That could be a friend. It could be a coach. It could be your partner. It could be a financial advisor. But having a regular money date, like if that could be every month, that would be fantastic. Even if it's every couple of months, right? This is about looking at it with somebody who is safe. And it doesn't mean that they necessarily have to look at yours. You're just doing it together. You're talking about money goals, about paying off debt, about, what you're wanting to do. It's also about having that accountability, that body doubling, things that really support our ADHD brains, right? A deadline, all of these sorts of things, okay? One thing I do 2 times per year, sometimes more, but 2 times per year, is I will do like this 3-month evaluation where I go back over 3 months of bank statements, and I do this in my personal, and then I do it separately in my business. And I look at what have been my personal expenses over these last 3 months. So I will go back and I will categorize everything. So if I bought coffees, like that might go under, I don't know, like I might just kind of group it into cafes to start with, and then I'll kind of break it down. Car expenses, I bought a pair of jeans, clothing, right? And then I go through and see like what I spend in what categories, which ultimately become the categories that I have for my bank. Like I have, as I said, all these different accounts for all of the different types of expenses that I have. But I go through and have a look at, are these expenses what I think they are? Am I spending more or less than I think? Have there been any unnecessary expenses that I want to be more mindful of or be aware of for the future? Have things gone up? Right? It just makes me aware, so I actually know what it costs me to live. Like in my business, I found that there were a couple of things I was paying for that I was no longer needing or using, and so I was able to cancel them. But I wouldn't have even noticed that if I hadn't been doing this kind of evaluation every now and again. So again, it's kind of about, having that accountability, right? That regular kind of a money date with a safe person, right? Somebody non-judgmental. And it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to show them all of your finances, but it's about doing this together, right? So that you do it and don't hide from it continually, which is something we can do. And I did for years, right? So again, this one here, this 3rd step is all about making it more enjoyable to look at and to manage. Now, if you're already wishing that you were taking notes because I've shared some good shit, then don't worry, I got you covered. Remember, we've got that free download. You can get a free download covering everything that we are going through in this episode today, and you're definitely going to want it for the 4th step, my friend. So you can tap the little link here in the bio or head to navigatingadultadhd.com/cheat sheet. Now, the 4th step is my favorite. So number 4 is what I call halted 24. Halted 24. This is something I have adapted from HALT, which I believe originally comes from AA meetings. Okay. And I've adapted it to speak directly to my ADHD brain and the impulse spending or dopamine spending that I have a tendency to lean towards. Now, this is not foolproof. Okay. That's fine. But I will say it definitely helps me to hit that pause button and really identify the driving factors behind my spending. Okay. So when I find myself about to check out my Temu order or my Amazon order, I HALT. Okay. HALT. And then I run through my halted 24 and I'm asking myself, am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I lonely? Am I tired? Man, I'll buy some shit when I'm tired, right? Am I emotional, right? Including hormonal, because I will buy some shit then too. And lastly, the D in our halted, am I dopamine seeking? Am I doing this to try and get a feel good? Am I dopamine seeking? The 24, okay, so it's halted 24. The last part is, can I wait 24 hours before I buy this? And I'm always framing this as a choice and in a positive way. Okay, I can have this tomorrow if I still want it. Now, often this speaks to that real sense of urgency that I will have when it comes to making a purchase. Okay, so I will screenshot whatever is in my cart, right? Or I will take a photo of it. If I'm in a store, if I'm in a fitting room, or if I'm in some shop, I will take a photo of it, right? And 9 times out of 10, the next day I'm deleting that screenshot and I'm not buying it. Pretty content with my decision, okay? So again, this is the halted 24. It's just helping us to hit pause and identify the driving factors behind that spending, right? And this really does help with our impulsivity and our dopamine seeking when it comes to spending, all right? But also, we are going to make more poor decisions if we're hungry, angry, lonely, tired, emotional, and dopamine seeking. Like, we know that, right? But if we can identify it, if we can just kind of play with this halted, it will help us, right, to kind of hit the pause button and eliminate some of that. Or, give us time to really think about it, see if it aligns with our goals and what we're wanting to do. So again, halted 24. Am I hungry, angry, lonely, tired, emotional, dopamine seeking, and can I wait 24 hours before I buy it? Now, if I say yes to any one of these, like I'm hungry, it's like, okay, let me go get some food, right? And revisit this after I've eaten. Am I angry? Okay, let me regulate my emotions and revisit this after I've done that, right? Let me sleep on it, right? All of that. So, friends, I'm just going to recap our 4 things that we have gone through, these 4 strategies, right, for making money more ADHD friendly. Number 1, we got to make it visible. We have to make it more insight in mind. Often when we feel a lot of shame around something, we try to hide from it. That's not working. I know. Ask me how I know. Number 2, self-binding. It's creating barriers between ourselves and, our spending, making it harder to access the thing, right? If we're not wanting to spend money, making it harder for ourselves to access that. Number 3 is making it more enjoyable to actually look at our money, to want to know how much it costs us to live, how we could make more money, like being more playful and fun, right? Adding that novelty, interest, and support in there. Number 4 is the halted 24, right? Am I hungry, angry, lonely, tired, emotional, dopamine seeking, and can I wait 24 hours before I buy this? Like, I like that because it's this little challenge, right? And our brains love a challenge, okay? But often there's this real kind of sense of urgency that we're feeling. So again, my friend, you can grab a download of this episode tap the link wherever you're listening or head to navigatingadultadhd.com/cheat sheet. Now, hear this. In next week's episode, we are going to have a part 3 on our ADHD money series. And I'm actually going to share with you the biggest shifts in my own money journey, right? I'm talking about the things that have helped me to pay off thousands of dollars in credit card debt, to be able to have, lots of decent chunks of money in both my business and personal savings accounts, but also what's allowed me to really enjoy the things I love, like traveling, right, without breaking the bank. We're going to be talking about money mindset. And I'm going to share with you how I've gone from being somebody who really believed that she was terrible with money to being someone who's not only good with money, but actually achieving their financial goals. Okay, so you're not going to want to miss this episode, my friend. I'm going to spill all of the tea. If you haven't yet hit subscribe, I definitely encourage you to do that now so you don't miss out. All right. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Huge, huge love. Take care. I'll speak to you soon. Hey friend, if you want some more help navigating and thriving with ADHD and some help applying everything that you're learning here on the podcast, then head over to our website, navigatingadultadhd.com.